All right, good evening, everyone. This is the October 3rd, 2024 MSAD 75 school meeting of the Board of Directors will now come to order. Before we begin, I would like to remind everybody that if you wish to speak during public comment, we do have a sign-up sheet here at the podium. Just checking. Once the clipboard's in my hands, that's all the speakers we'll have for tonight. And I would remind everyone to silence your devices and make sure your mics are on before you speak. And with that, I guess we will ask Becky to take the roll.
Bart Beatty.
Present.
Andy Deegan.
Present.
Molly Cannon.
Present.
Richard Bacon.
Present.
Tony Gonzalez.
Present.
Gregory Greenleaf.
Present.
Hudson Hayward.
Present.
Mary Hobson.
Present.
Haley Phillips.
Present.
Brian Martin. Nicole
Present.
Shelley.
Here.
Amy Stelby.
Here.
Frank Wright.
Present.
Thank you. If you will join me for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first we will consider action relative to additions or adjustments of the agenda, which I will outline here. We are going to add item 6.3A, which is to see a vote to authorize the lease purchase of 3 new school buses. I'd like to table item number 4, the minutes. And I would like to move items 6.4 and 6.5, which are executive session items, to the end of the agenda, since we will not have a vote after those.
So moved. Second.
Any comments? All in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. Well, it's time on the agenda to ask for comments from the audience. I don't believe we have any. So we will move on to recognitions and acknowledgements. We don't have any of those to make tonight, and we also do not have any announcements and correspondence. So we will move right to our student representatives who don't appear to be here. Oh, you're just in time to give the student representative reports, if you have one.
Yeah. Well.
So we'll give you a second to get your mic and. Oh, that's right. There's a game. I'll take your time. We breezed through the first 5 items, so.
Okay. All right. Hello. Oh, whoa, there we go. Yeah. So Eagle Day was a success. A lot of really good student input, and I was not here, but I heard the dance was delayed, which a lot of people were sad about. But and it's been a slow 2 weeks. Not much has gone on. I think that's about all I got, really. I mean, it hasn't been very long.
That's we'll take it. Thank you. So we've tabled the minutes. That moves us to section 5, old business. And we have several second reads. I think what I'd like to do is we will go through each one, and we had a very in-depth discussion last time, and a great walkthrough of all the changes that were made and the reasons leading to the changes. So I think this time we'll just have Hudson explain any changes that have been made between the first read and the second read. So we will start with 5.1, to consider action to accept a second reading and adoption of the proposed revisions to policy AC, non-discrimination, equal opportunity, and sexual harassment of students.
So move.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Yes, Jessica, you have a comment?
Question, sorry. I think there might be a typo on the agenda. Equal opportunity and sexual harassment of students, not consistent with exhibit 5.1. I don't think.
You
So I
are
could double
correct.
check.
It should
Okay.
be
Thank you.
non-discrimination, equal opportunity and affirmative action. You are correct.
Okay.
That's the policy guy.
So that's, that, just to clarify, that's a typo on the agenda, but it is not on the actual exhibit item. Has the correct wording, is that right?
Yes.
Thank you. Go ahead.
The only comment I have, and this came up after I submitted everything to the agenda, and it's a really minor one. And this is going to be true of AC and the two ACAA policies, but I'll bring it up each time, is that in the cross-references, we're going to be looking at a more updated pregnant students policy, which is JIE. So I'm anticipating that the cross-reference when published will be JFF married students and adding JIE pregnant students for policies that'll be coming. So that's the only little tweak, which is non-substantive relative to the body of these policies, but wanted to be transparent about that.
Thank
Other
you.
than that, it's what you saw before.
Okay, are there any other comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? All those abstaining? Thank you. You all, are you all set, Becky, with that? Did you get got what you needed? Yes?
Becky.
You-
Did you get what you needed?
You got the names of who abstained? I didn't know if you saw.
Didn't see if I was-
Oh, yes, Jessica abstained. All right, so moving on to 5.2, to consider action to accept the second reading and adoption of proposed revisions to policy ACAA 2020 harassment and sexual harassment of students.
So move.
Seconded,
Moved and seconded. Hudson?
same JIE, JFF adjustment in the cross-reference, but that is it.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? None. All those in favor? All those opposed? All those abstaining? Thank you. We will move to consider action to accept a second reading and adoption of proposed revisions to policy ACAA 2024 harassment and discrimination of students.
So move.
Seconded,
Was moved and seconded. Hudson,
um,
comments?
JFF, JIE comment adjustment that wasn't covered in the cover sheet, but again, no changes from last time, even if we were to do that.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments on that one? Seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? All those abstaining? Thank you. Next, 5.4, to consider action to accept a second reading and adoption of proposed revisions to policy ACAB 2020, harassment and sexual harassment of school employees.
So move.
Seconded,
Moved and seconded. Hudson,
no changes from first read.
okay. Any questions or comments on that policy? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Abstaining? Thank you. And the last one, to consider action to accept the second reading and adoption of proposed revisions to policy ACAB 2024 harassment and discrimination of employees.
So move.
Seconded,
Been seconded? Hudson?
no adjustments to this one.
Okay. Any questions or comments on that version? Seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? All those abstaining? Thank you. Thank you again to the policy committee. That was a lot of work to get through the verbiage and the layers and the levels. So appreciate the work very much.
Feels good to get across the finish line.
And so the final thing to do is to consider action to eliminate procedures ACAAR and ACABR, as they will be replaced by administrative procedures.
So move.
Seconded,
Moved and seconded. Do you want to?
yeah. Sort of the short version is it's something the committee discussed, and then we went over again with our legal counsel. And the recommendation of our legal counsel following that discussion was that we're required to have these policies as a school district. They're not required to be board policies. And because, especially given the sort of legal situation that Kim so eloquently expressed at our last meeting, having these procedures be able to be updated in a more rapid sort of process did us a lot of good and would allow Heidi to make sure they were optimized for the needs of the district. So we're going to have procedures to these points in the district. They will just cease to be board governed procedures.
And correct me if I'm wrong, they will be posted on the webpage for.
They will.
anyone who wants to.
And the
Access
webpage
them.
should be going live sometime next week is the plan right now.
Fabulous. Does anyone have any questions or comments about that? Seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? And I don't think anyone abstaining. Thank you. So item 6, new business. The first thing is we'd like to hear a presentation from Sean Shabbat, the Superintendent Director of Region 10 Technical High School. Hi. Do you want to say anything first, Heidi? No. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, do you want?
Or, yeah. Oh, maybe we want to move then? Oh. Oh.
Got everybody all around. Camp class. So first of all, thank you. My name is Sean Shabbat. I'm the Superintendent Director of Region 10, and usually we come over to present our budget. Tonight, Heidi asked us just to give a quick presentation, an overview of Region 10, and I have obviously slides that I'd like to share. In addition to that, we are passing around a program of study book, and it is pretty hefty book, but it describes in detail each of our 15 programs and also opportunities that students have when they graduate or come out of our programs and related career.
Thanks, Nick. So you can look at that, and I also will share our website that has that same information with you folks. So Region 10, this year, we currently have about 374 students, which is an increase for us of nearly 100 students. We're pretty much maxed out of all our programs. We have 16 instructors, 4.5 educational technicians. You can see our administration there. And then we have 2 facilities manager and 2 custodians. And if anybody has any questions at any time, please stop me and I'd be happy to answer them, and I'm happy to answer any questions at the end as well. Here's a list of our programs. The 2 programs with stars at the end of it, electrical and IT cybersecurity are new programs for us this year. Electrical is completely full. And our IT cybersecurity has 6 students in there. Our Foundations of Technology in the upper left-hand corner there is a freshman-only course. It's really an exploratory course. Students are in the shop for part of their time, and the other part of their time, they are with a social studies teacher. They're earning their social studies credit at Region 10 that all 3 sending high schools reciprocate and award that social studies credit as part of the graduation, and then they get a little bit of each one of our programs that we offer later at Region 10 at their freshmen. So they get exposed to Region 10 programs, and then when they become sophomores or juniors and they want to enter into the full 2-year program, they've had that opportunity to have a little bit of prior knowledge of what we're able to offer. We are governed by
a cooperative agreement, which is made up of our board of directors. You have members on our board of directors that hopefully I know Jim and Mary report out on what's going on at Region 10. In addition, you have a community member from MSCD 75 is David Johnson that you folks appointed. And we have the weighted average based on the US Census population that was updated after the 2020 census. And you can see the breakdown around for that. Our budget, really quickly, our operating budget is a little over $4 million. The total budget this year includes a $35,000 loan for reconstruction for our main entrance, which is a 10-year loan. The majority of that is forgiven by the state of Maine, but 46% of it will be paid for by the voters that they approved at a district-wide referendum this past spring. We received $2.7 million of state funding for Region 10. The local assessment between the 3 sending districts is $1.1 million, and 75 share of that, based on the previous slide, is $415,000. And we will again present our budget to you folks this February, March-ish, whenever you invite us back. Student breakdown, like I said, we have about 374 students, 112 from Brunswick, 164 from MTA. MTA has traditionally been the largest number of students coming from our 3 sending schools. Freeport High School has 83, and then we have 14 homeschool students and 1 student that is out of district. Then we accept out of district students if there's room in that program. If we don't have any students that are homeschooled from our 3 sending districts. And we offer a program that their sending district does not offer. And then I threw in some interesting statistics. To me, these are pretty interesting. They all come from the Maine Department of Education. The second bullet I'd like to highlight, CTE works to reduce high school dropout rates. High-risk students enrolled in the CTE program are 8 to 10 times less likely to drop out in 11th or 12th grade than students enrolled in general education. Again, that's from the Maine DOE. And one more slide about CTE works for post-secondary placement. 70% of our students concentrated in CTE areas stayed in post-secondary education or transferred to a 4-year degree program compared to an overall state average of 58%. So obviously CTE does a lot of good, but it's not for all students. But certainly for the students that attend, we prepare students for the world of work, post-secondary, or the military. And then I'm happy to answer any questions, but I also briefly wanted to share with you our website. We just updated our website, and it goes along with the program of studies right there. So if you'd like to learn more about Region 10, Gene Palmer, who's our creative digital media, also works on our website. You can scroll down and see each one of our programs. And I'll just go to building trades really quick. And you can see, it tells you what our program is about, what the curriculum is about, and some student interest. And then it also goes into careers and salaries. And then you can scroll down a little bit more. And it gives you, whoops, I went too far, entry-level skills and the related salaries and what those jobs may be. And then level 2 with an associate's degree, or level 4 with a bachelor's degree. So kids can see the pathway of, if you entered a certain program, what the future may hold for them, whether they went straight into the world of work, whether they got an associate's degree, or they went further and got a bachelor's degree. And that's done for every one of our 15 programs. And it's all laid out on the website. So I just share that. If you want to know more about Region 10, certainly it's on there. It's an interactive website. She did a lot of work on that. But I'm happy to answer any questions you have about Raging Tech. Sir.
I have a question about the teacher ratio. If you do the math, it's like 24 but I imagine it varies between.
If you do the math, you're absolutely right. So our students come, we run a every other day schedule. So we'll have students, a typical student would come either a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday one week, and then the following week, Tuesday, Thursday. So those numbers are really by half. Mary,
It's a great presentation. So the programs that you have, you listed.
it was
those.
gonna be longer, but somebody told me I had to make it short and
Very
sweet.
That's good. We'll be brief.
No, just kidding.
I just was wondering, because I remember I was at the meeting when you said you're at capacity with programs right now.
Yes, we're
Yeah.
pretty much full. I mean, 400 is really our capacity.
Yeah.
And so over the summer, we were right at the 400 mark or thereabout. But typically, like any year with add drop and students moving and coming, we lose a few kids. So that's why we have a few extra. We're down to 374. But still, that's almost
Yeah.
100, almost 100 more than we had last year.
Amazing. Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks.
Somebody else, oh, yes, Jim.
Sean, I just can't let this opportunity pass. I've watched, like we all have, I know, the destruction, terrible destruction of structures, et cetera, through North Carolina and across the South. And the building trades, the incredible demand that will create, but we know is already there. But I've got to pitch the cybersecurity, that this, and to the thinking you're doing, not only around programs here today, but also
For the future.
you haven't mentioned the thinking beyond the current, I know you've been here to present on it before, but this is not your father or grandfather or grandmother's voc school, that it's looking into that. And I'm going to go home and look at the cybersecurity piece of this, because those opportunities, just everybody watching at home, take a look, those possibilities. And I'm so excited to watch that program specifically grow.
Yeah, we're really excited about our IT cybersecurity, and Jim is alluding to, we're also looking at some other partnerships. I presented to the board about the potential of a 4-year comprehensive high school, and we've also have been working with Maine Maritime Academy over at the Old Brunswick Landing, not the Old Brunswick, the old naval base at Brunswick Landing, and doing some potential partnerships. They're leasing a building over there, and we're looking at partnering with them for 2 reasons. One, we don't have any more classroom space at Region 10. We're maxed out, including the portable that was purchased with COVID funds over the course of the pandemic. But we've expanded with those 2 new programs. We have no more space, and we still have interest to add additional programming. And there are a couple programs in particular, like metal fabrication and welding, where the interest is to the point where we could add another shop, another course, and run 2 courses of that. But we simply don't have the space. So we're looking at expanding, having a footprint at the old base, Brunswick Landing, to expand and partner with post-secondary institutions directly. We already have a partnership with Southern Maine Community College, where the majority of our students who attend Region 10 can earn community college credit through concurrent agreements. But we want to expand that opportunity with Maine Maritime as well. In addition to that, potentially we have a working agreement with the University of Maine at Farmington to work with them as well. I think Nick cut my mic off. I think I went past my 5 minutes. Is that right, Heidi?
Go ahead, Jessica.
Thanks. Just want to say that I think it's great that you are all considering a 4-year technical education. I feel like that's a trend that our educational system needs to go into. And I'd also like to plug consideration at the middle school level as well?
So a couple things. One is Maine is one of the few states in our country that do not have the four-year model. Most states in our country have a four-year option for high school students to attend a comprehensive career technical education. Maine traditionally has had this two-year option where you're part-time at your sending school and part-time at a career and technical school within the state. And so we are looking in, as the board knows, and members that serve on our committee, starting a career four-year comprehensive high school around that. And then the middle school is certainly an area where I think it is needed and necessary, especially to engage students in their learning, for those students who are actively involved in hands-on opportunities. The issue is, to be blunt, is space. We don't have the space at Region 10, and most middle schools, unfortunately, probably don't have the space. And so it's how do we do that? But I know at the state level, they are actively looking at ways to invest into the middle schools, because students need those opportunities. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Lastly, if there's no other questions, I would invite the board or members of the board, anytime that you would like to tour Region 10, in particular while the students are there. Certainly after school, I'd be happy, or at night, to give the board a tour. But I think it's most beneficial if you are able to come over while the students are there and actually see them working in what they're doing. That way you get a feel of the school and a feel. You can't fake that when there's a couple hundred kids in there. It is what it is at the time. There's no faking that. So I invite you to come over anytime you'd like and have a tour of the building. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
All right.
This is a good time for me to say, next week when we do our workshop, one of the topics we're going to talk about, because I've been wondering myself, is what exactly our relationship is with your school. I mean, legally, policy, financially, because we do approve a budget piece. I mean, so you don't need to speak to it, but that's what that's for everybody else's benefit. One of the things we're gonna go over is how this works. Exactly.
So the
We
only
share students,
Yeah, we share students.
and all that stuff.
The agreement I would refer to you, if you haven't looked at it, is the cooperative agreement between the three sending districts, meaning MSAD 75, RSU 5, and the Brunswick School Committee, is the governing body, the language, the constitution, if you will, for Region 10. It's an agreement between the three sending districts. And whenever there's a change of that, it needs to come back to the three boards for approval. And that allows us to have our overarching governing rules. We have our own policies.
Right.
Our board approves. We have a policy subcommittee, just like you folks do. They approve policies that govern Region 10. They hire and fire me as the superintendent. And then just like in your position here with Heidi, she employs the rest of the employees at the district.
Amy, I just looking forward to that workshop, but just so we don't feel like we're putting Sean on
That's
the
okay.
spot, that it'll be looking at all,
That's
a variety, adult ed,
Right.
et cetera, with those relationships. Really
All-
looking forward to that
All the
conversation.
places we share students and facilities and,
Yeah.
I think it's
Et cetera.
great. And if anytime you'd like to have us come back, we'd be more than
well, we'll see you at budget time.
Yes, you will.
Thank you. Very exciting to move on to the next item. Item 6.2, to consider action to appoint Evan Howard to our business manager position.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Heidi?
Oh, well, I couldn't
Let
be
you
more
introduce him.
excited. So Evan is here, Evan Howard, he's right here in the audience. And so Evan, I'm going to talk a little bit about you, and then if you'd like to say a few words, you certainly are able to do that. Okay, welcome to do that, I should say. So I am really thrilled to introduce Evan as our new business manager. He brings a wealth of experience in customer service and team leadership that will be invaluable to our organization. In his previous role as a sales lead at a snowboard shop, also as a senior supply operations manager at Hyperlight, Evan consistently demonstrates his ability to connect with people, provide excellent customer service, and tackle new challenges with enthusiasm. His approach to sales is refreshingly genuine and non-pushy, focusing on truly helping customers rather than simply closing deals. Evan's former employers have nothing but praise for his work, describing him as one of the best employees they've ever had. They highlight his reliability, his strong work ethic, and ability to quickly learn and adapt to new situations. He has also served as a team leader in one of his positions where he had a natural talent for providing support and guidance, inspiring his colleagues and who looked to him for assistance. What sets Evan apart, though, is not just his exceptional interpersonal skills, but his sharp intellect and problem-solving abilities. He brings a level-headed approach to challenges and has a keen focus on fostering a positive culture. These qualities really make him a significant asset for our team. Again, his references speak volumes about his character and his capabilities. They describe him as a lovely human whose thoughtful management style and unique skill set will undoubtedly contribute to our mission. His genuine nature and ability to add value while creating a positive work environment make him an ideal fit for our organization. Evan's skills in operation management, team leadership, procurement, data analytics combined with his MBA, we are really lucky to be able to have a person like Evan in our district. So I'd like to introduce you to Evan Howard for our business manager.
Actually, before you speak.
Oh, sorry, yes.
If we could, well, does anyone, yes, Ryan?
I actually just wanted to quickly add to this too, as I represented the board on the hiring committee for this, and would like to just quickly echo much of what Heidi said, but also say that I was very impressed throughout the process with Evan's intelligence, his ability to digest information, succinctly report it back out in a clear, understandable way. He came off as being very confident, but also very curious about stuff, and so I'm really excited that to have this opportunity to vote on bringing him in onto the team.
Well, thanks for your work on the committee, Ryan. Anybody else have any questions or comments? All right, all those in favor? Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? That's unanimous. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Those were the two nicest things anyone's ever said about me. So thank you very much, Heidi and Ryan, and really an honor to be standing up here in front of you. And I'm really excited for this opportunity. I started my career in nonprofit, and I love the mission-driven side of working for an organization like Avesta Housing, where I started. And I'm really excited to get going here in a couple of weeks. And yeah, this is really just an honor to be in front of you and hear those kind of things you've said. And yeah, like I said, just really excited and happy to be here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. What did you say your first day is going to be? October.
It's the 28th of October.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that's yay. Item 6.3, we're going to hear a presentation from Heidi on attendance data.
Okay, can you pass? I'm gonna go up there. I think it will just be easier.
Is your presentation the same as this handout?
Yes, yes. You don't have. That's not fun.
We can find.
Let me just join the Zoom meeting.
It's no longer 16, 17 now. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. When they changed that. What?
I thought that was policy committee, so I was just reading the statute yesterday.
Yeah, cool.
See, threatened failures. All
All right.
It'll be okay.
It's getting handled.
There's a lot of that happening for these reasons.
Yeah.
Good balance. Yeah, that's fine. Balance is tough, you know.
That's quite all right. If I were you, I would take it. Yeah.
I just lost my screen. Join webinar. Oh, I have to put it on for. Okay, here we go. I have to put it on for the public. Apologize, I'm delayed. Help me, Nick. Yeah. Yeah. Like, somebody always has to rescue me with this stuff. I'm trying to share this, but I don't see it there. Oh, there we go. It's up there now. Okay. Thank you. Am I good? Like this?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, now where's this? Well, okay, I'll just do it this way. I'm gonna have to make it big. Oh, thank you. I know that. I'm just nervous, so I couldn't figure it out. I'm like, oh, don't ask me. Okay, well anyways, thanks for having me here as your superintendent and presenting to you an attendance overview. And I've spent quite a bit of time putting this together. And really, I'm going to do an overview of our district attendance and some of the policies and laws regarding that, and then some of our challenges. So let's start with a few brief reminders about compulsory attendance laws. That all children ages 6 to 17 must attend public day school. They attend 175 days of annual instruction, which is required. And then alternatives to those schools can happen. There are exceptions to that: early graduation, private schools, or home instruction programs, as well as a few other things. And they are listed here again. It's an alternative to public schools. So excusable absences from school is personal health, such as physical, mental, or behavioral health, religious observances, health appointments, family emergencies, approved personal educational absences or educational disruptions such as homelessness or hospitalization. And those are considered excused, although they do count when we talk about chronic absenteeism. And that's reported to the state. The purpose really of compulsory education is that it's essential for preserving rights and liberties, that everybody has a right to access public education, and it's necessary for educated citizenry. And schools should ensure that access and that we develop alternatives for our at-risk students, which we do. There's a definition that's really important to know about when you're looking at attendance. So an habitual truant is absent for 10 full days or 7 consecutive half days with any 6-month period for non-excusable reasons. Okay, that you don't come in with a note and it didn't meet any of those excusable on the list that I shared before. This is kind of a complicated one because it includes percentages and rates and all of that. But an absence, again, is defined as excused, unexcused, or disciplinary absence, such as defined by the state board, which is actually like suspensions. Though that's what's considered in that. And so, and enrolled in a school or under a school administrative unit, you can only have, you need to have total absences need to be less than 10%. If it's greater than 10%, total enrolled schools in a day, you're considered chronically absent. And as an overall picture of the district, if your absenteeism rate is higher than 10%, then we need to look at what's going on with attendance. Now, however, today I was going down through something and somewhere along the line, the disciplinary absence hasn't been included in our numbers, but I decided I would still go for it. And I just discovered that we might have been missing that actually just today. And so I'm still going to present it to you, but note that these rates may go up a little bit because of the numbers of suspensions, but I'll present that to you at a later date and show you the comparison and the reasons why, because the reasons why are really important. So again, when you're looking at absences, we report to the state all unexcused absences and excused absences. They calculate those. And if we have an unknown absence, we also report that to the state. If it's unexcused, it's considered unexcused, so it goes in there. And if not, we always mark it again as excused if we have a note or whatever, if it falls under that category. But those are the three areas that we report to the state. We don't report what we call documented absences. That means like a school plan trip, senior privileges, vacations might be excused, but there may be a documented absence as a reason why. So we look very carefully at that data, and that's what we've been doing. Oh, sorry.
Just going back this, so I'm confused. Why at what point does an unknown
Yep.
get determined? How long can it live in that bucket?
It can live in there quite a while until we figure out what's going on. Sometimes we are missing students because they've moved or we don't know, and we count them as absent, and they're unknown until we can figure out where they go, or they've requested, records have been requested from somebody else. There's lots of different reasons, but we really try to clean that up. And if it's unknown and it remains unknown, it goes in as unexcused. If we get a note and we figure it out, we put it in as excused for those reasons. Make
Thanks.
sense? Yeah, okay. So when you're looking at the percent of students absent, you can see that we did a comparison over the last 5 years. However, you'll notice in that data that 1920 and 2021 are not included in there because those were the years of COVID, and it wouldn't have been fair to compare that data because we were not in school and we were not in school full time and we had remote learning. And so the data would be really skewed if we were to use that. So we chose not to include that. And what I want you to pay attention to is pre-pandemic 2017, 2018, 2018, and 2019. Those numbers compared to where we are in 23, 24 and the trends. And I'm going to show you that. And there's a view of it. Some folks like to have a graph chart with colors, and that kind of shows that. Hudson?
One of the things that I find interesting, because I'm one of those people who appreciates the graph,
Yeah.
is that the elementary schools all seem to have the same pattern of steep rises in the 21, 22 and 22, 23 years. Some one is the higher than the other, it might switch, but steep rises followed by a recovery in the last year, whereas the middle school and the high school have a very different pattern.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any sense, and again, different degrees, but looking at patterns, do you guys have a sense on why the middle school and the high school are different in that way?
I do, and I have rationale for that. So I'm going to go through this, and then I predicted what questions would be asked, so I have answers for those. Yeah. So this is the chronically absent, and you can see the numbers look very different, and they're quite high. Obviously, I will be concerned if we actually do include this disciplinary events, especially for the high school and middle school, which is where we really receive, where we have more disciplinary events than other schools. And those are out of school suspensions and such, because at the lower elementary, we don't normally suspend students for more than 3 days. So we will talk about that at another time, but I just want you to be aware of that. And again, here's the chart. So I'll give you a minute to just look at that and you can see the differences. Again, this is excluding 1920 and 2021 data. So really, it's hard to, I had to keep going back and forth with myself because I wanted to say, well, how many students were in attendance? We have most of our schools, our elementary schools are in the 90% where students are in attendance. That's really positive. Middle school and high school are in the mid-80s. If you were to calculate that, it's around maybe 85, if I'm just remembering off the top of my head, 84 maybe. So we know we have some work to do there, and we know the reasons why. So overall, the absence rates have increased since 2017, and we've seen definitely a significant spike in chronic absenteeism in 21, 22, and we are consistently showing higher rates at the high school and the middle school. And although recent data does show a slight improvement in most schools, our current rates still are really above pre-pandemic levels.
Can you explain the calculation to get chronically absent?
Yes.
Like, take a box, the 23, 24 BCS 6.22. So 6.22% of
Me-
kids who are absent are chronically absent, or?
Mhm. So
what
let
is-
me explain that for you and how it's calculated. So remember, we calculate, so I'm going to read this to you because I actually did figure this out because I knew that would be a question. So let's put our attendance data into perspective, which means, here's a specific example. A student with a 40.9% rate over our first 23 days of school has effectively been present for only 9 full days, meaning that they've missed 14 days of instruction, and then more than they've attended as well. So in terms of instructional time, you have a 6-hour school day, and this student has just received 54 hours of instruction. And then out of 138 hours, they've only actually received 54 of that, 54 hours. And this level of absence not only classifies as chronic absenteeism, but also significantly impacts the student's learning opportunities. And so and go back to your question one more time so I make sure I answer it.
The numbers on the percent of students chronically absent,
Mhm.
how is that calculated?
So it is calculated by minutes within the, so every block that a child, or every period or every day, if a student, let's take blocks, if a student is out 1 block one day, 2 blocks the next day, or the entire day. It takes all of those by the minutes and calculates them, and then turns them into hours and collects them into days. So it goes minutes, hours, then days, is how we calculate it. Does that make sense to you?
That part does. I
Okay.
guess, so my question is how we can have 15% of students chronically absent, but only 6% of students absent.
Yeah, good question. I don't know the answer off the top of my head.
Good. I was going to ask sort of a similar question, and maybe I'm going to ask it in a leading way because I have a guess is what's going on.
Yeah,
So percent of students absent, I presume is like if there's 100 total student units of learning, right?
mhm,
4.8 of them were missing for a 4.8 percentage, right? It's sort of
Yeah.
spread across everybody. My presumption, and I don't know if Amanda is going to be able to speak to this better, is that while the overall school rate isn't bad, they're being disproportionately used or taken up by a small subset of students,
yeah,
right? So while the school rate may not look bad, there's 5 students who are absent so much they qualify
Chronically.
as chronically absent.
chronically,
So-
yes.
Okay, so on the chronic page 15.5 overall, 15% of students who are absent are chronically absent.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, that's good. Yes, that's right. So. Okay. I didn't write that question down even. Think about it.
And then I had a question
Yeah.
unrelated to that, which is, I'm operating on the assumption, and I want you to tell me if this is wrong, that we're not out of bounds with the state of Maine relative to these numbers right now.
Yep.
So this is a pattern that all districts are, again, doesn't make it less of a challenge for us, but we're,
So yes, let me answer that question for you. So the state chronic absentee rate is 27% for the 22-23 school year, which is lower than the 21-22, which was at 31%, and that's directly from the Department of Education. Brunswick School Department was at 21, actually, I'm sorry, the 21-22 school year was at 15.8, and 15.88 for the 23 school year. So we're a little above them. Another neighboring school district is at 24.63% and 28.28%. So this is if you, I will also share a link with you that Oxford Hills just did a news report, and they're at 40%, and they're talking about it. So this is a statewide problem, and is not just our district problem. It's a statewide problem, and there's lots of conversation regarding attendance across the state. Holly.
Are we gathering any data around the specifics when we get absentee requests? Like when someone is calling in, are we asking, is this a behavioral? Is this a mental health? Is this a physical?
Yeah.
So we can get ideas of maybe what
Sure.
could be boosting those things.
Yes, so we definitely are collecting all the data that we possibly can to look at each individual student to see what the story is behind that student's absences. We have attendance teams that look and review in every school. We develop targeted interventions for chronically absent students. We have a new system that we're using, which will be part of our goal, called Analytic View, that brings all of the data together so that we can really dig down deep, and it aligns to everything that's in Infinite Campus, and it analyzes the data for us so that we can actually look at that. We're reviewing all of our procedures. I've pulled everybody's protocols to see how we're handling that. You'll also notice that in this year, 23-24, Bowdoin Community School has really done a good job increasing their attendance. And one of the reasons regarding that is that they have really spent a lot of time on attendance, and they have played a crucial role because they in Bowdoin, they had been on the tier 3 for like the last 7 years. So they put a lot of emphasis on that. And some of the things that they've done to improve attendance, which we're going to be looking and studying that as well. Attendance has been on their tier 3 goals, and they've established protocols. They do regular monitoring where they conduct professional learning groups. They have evidence-based strategies, such as the strategies and initiatives that they're using for the Count Me In attendance. They did a lot of quick pandemic recovery, where they really pride themselves on having pivoted back into pre-pandemic levels. Strong communication and relationships were a big part of this, and then really a data-driven approach that they use to process. And we've really closely tracked our progress there, which has allowed them to make informed decisions across the way. And so while these approaches all align with what's happening in all of our schools, their consistent implementation of this is really what helped to change their attendance rates. And so we're going to use that and look more deeply at that as a model. So.
I was just going to say their numbers stood out as being very positive. So I'm
Yeah.
glad to hear the Bowdoin Central
Yeah.
program gone into some specifics. It's great.
Yes, Bowdoin Central, yes. Oh, Holly.
No, you're fine. I just wanted to kind of lean into this a little bit more because my understanding is in the mental health profession right now, there is a significant shortage
Mhm.
of children's mental health support. And that is causing a lot of ripple effects throughout the entire state.
Mhm.
And I find it very interesting that the middle school and high schools are the ones with the kind of highest, as I think those were the ones that were the most impacted by the pandemic. And so I'm wondering if some of these things have a lot to do with the isolation, the lack of socialization, and some of the mental health aspects that really came as a result of the pandemic.
Yep.
And obviously the
Yeah.
fact that we're having a shortage of those services throughout the state is not helping.
Correct. That's one of the many factors is mental health, homelessness, the barriers to attendance really is what we're talking about. Lack of food, jumping around to, as we say, housing, food instability, mental health, transportation, and then really a lack of connection to school has been identified as key factors. And so as we move forward, and information that I'll send out to parents in the community is really, how can you as parents in the community help support us with attendance? It really is it's about, not only in schools, is it about relationship building and building those connections, and then have everybody has somebody that they connect with. We do have our attendance teams and coordinators. We have school counselors. We have social workers. We have, we have students with IEPs there where, they can get accommodations that are related to it, even 504s if you have an attendance issue. If you're not coming to school, there's a reason why, and we like to work backwards and figure out what those stories are. We have provided transportation assistance. We have a high population of students that fall under McKinney-Vento, which is the homeless act. And then staff often, administrators will often visit students' homes to really understand and address attendance behavior. So the work is happening, and it is positive in some areas, but still a significant concern that we're hoping to address this year even more effectively.
I just had a comment to add too. Looking at this quickly, the one thing that's interesting is the multiple that like from 2017-18 to 23-24 on the high school and middle school is actually lower than the district average.
Are you looking at the percent of students absent
Yeah, percent of absent students that are chronically absent.
chronically? Yeah.
So
Yeah, lower than the state average.
lower than the state average, but also the growth seems to be happening more at some of the elementary levels when you look at what the percentages in change from say 2017-18 to 23-24. And so while the upper grades, I think, stick out as a larger number, the actual growth
Yeah.
is more significant at the lower levels.
Mhm.
And so that is a bit concerning, I think.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jessica.
Heidi, did you do any tracking and kind of overlay this data at all with enrollment numbers? Did they change appreciably over these years that you did this with?
I didn't track that, but I could do that and look at them for sure. But I have a separate enrollment spreadsheet, but I didn't overlay it with this.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
I was just curious if that might
Mhm.
explain any of it. Post-pandemic, I would
Yeah.
say that maybe, I would guess, maybe enrollment went down in some cases.
It's definitely gone down, probably about 150 students for the last 7 years, over the last 7 years. So we've definitely seen a trend going down. Whether it's due to pandemic and stuff, I don't know. I think it's just continually gone. That trend line is really going down since even back in 2017.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Heidi, with full understanding of the difficulty of finding numbers for 1920 and 2021,
Mhm.
is the state, is that just an accepted fact that those numbers don't exist?
I don't know I can't really speak for the state. I'm not actually really sure about that. I can follow up and say, I don't know that anybody put them out, because if I remember correctly, we weren't really reporting on it back then. I tried to block that out those times.
Yeah.
But I can certainly find that answer out, Jim. I don't really know.
Well,
Wait a minute, I'm missing 2 years. And then Jim McLaughlin and I spoke, and he's like, no, we purposefully left those out. And I said, okay.
which I can understand, but I think all of us, and Jessica, perhaps you make me think about looking over time, and the going to school is a cultural norm. And
Mhm.
for those 2 years, that cultural norm stopped. That you didn't get on the bus, you
Right.
didn't, and so for all of us, as we have conversations around curriculum, pedagogical,
Mhm.
how do we, I reflect back, and we'll mention briefly when I report on the CIA committee for today.
Yeah.
What are ways, how do we rebuild that as a cultural norm?
Yeah.
I think all of us, and I'd be interested at, as the young, so there are children just beginning school. who are it's generational change, who have come of age to 5 years old
Mhm.
in this setting, where seems to be clear is that absenteeism seems to be a more culturally accepted. I had to fake sick and always took a headache because nobody could see it to get out of school.
Yeah.
But it's a different time. So I'd be interested as this year's kindergarten class
Yeah.
and impact of that, not only in absenteeism, but overall.
I really appreciate you saying that, Jim. That's a message that really needs to be out there because that is true. Like it's a whole different, after the pandemic, we saw, well, am I going to get in? Is anything going to happen to me if I'm not here? And those were the questions that were asked. And quite frankly, for years, I've been going through chronic attendance issues and truancy, and there are laws on the books regarding truancy, and we have to do our part, no matter what. We have to do our due diligence, and we do. We follow the Title 20 steps to make sure that we are addressing absenteeism. We write letters. The letters come to the superintendent. It can go all the way to the district attorney, and parents can be charged $250. It rarely happens, and they know that. And that's what's unfortunate is there's not any support for us to get kids to come to school when they absolutely don't want to come to school. So that's what we have to work on. Go ahead.
Just to be the minorest of the pedantry contrarian here, one of the things I'm proud about this district in the state of Maine is we weren't shut down schools for 2 years. We only really lost about a year, right? We shut down in March at the end of the 1920 school year, and by January of the 2021 school year, at least at the elementary level, kids were back in school full time. I can't remember at the middle high school level if that flow was at the same timing or was a little later. It was halftime for a while longer. But anyway, I think the state of Maine broadly and our district specifically did a good job
Yeah.
prioritizing getting kids back in school safely. And it's one of the things that I will eternally be grateful for, which is why I just felt the need to sort of bring that up specifically. So it wasn't like we were at home for 2 years, which is true some other parts of the country, and it wasn't true here. And I think I'm aghast to think of how much worse this problem would be if we were
Yeah.
out longer,
Mhm. Thank you, Hudson, for saying that.
I need to add also, no place in the United States was better prepared for the at-home, the digital, the digital density in the state of Maine surpasses every place in the country, bar none. I think what it shows, though, because attendance in those virtual environments fell dramatically, stories that I was aware of across the state of, kids that just disappeared because we were not prepared. Again, the critical importance of the conversations around technology use. It's not simply having the devices, but should there come a time, be it bird flu or whatever, we're in a position that we could be prepared to continue school. How do we make sure that we are better? So next time, more kids continue to stay connected.
I think that's really important for us to, as part of our plan and looking at attendance and looking at alternative ways to graduation for kids and doing things. And I think that Doug's presentation during CIA, that's one way. That is connecting kids to school. And you heard it, he has the evidence to support it. There's, those are the types of programs that we, the increase in VOC, that's connecting, I'm sorry, Region 10. I always say VOC still, but it's Region 10. So those are the types of things that we need to look at and know that we have all kinds of kids coming to school with different kinds of skill sets, and what excites them about being here isn't the same as what the next person is. So we need to look at all of our programs as we move forward.
Holly had a question.
No.
Not so much in regards to the chronic absenteeism, but I am wondering about, I know as a parent, I'm always of that notion of, oh God, I don't want to send my kid to school with the stuffy nose versus the full-on horse cough. And is there could there be some education in regards to a bit more education maybe around like what is okay? Except I know I struggle with that. I don't want to spread this illness even more. I'm, you know, the cesspools and the germ pools that kids are nowadays.
Yeah.
And so I think, I know as a parent, I struggle with the line of when to send my kid and when not to send my kid. So,
Yeah, I
Adam,
think that's a good point, and that's something that we should definitely talk about. So yeah, I can put something out on that. Absolutely.
Oh, thank you, Heidi. That was very thought-provoking and timely and useful, and
Yes, thank you.
there'll be more, I'm sure.
There will be more, and I will come back with an update as soon as I get the data on disciplinary events.
So next, we're going to 6.3A. Got to do the buses. All right, I can read it, right? Yep. All right, so we're moving on to 6.3A, one of our adjustments. I move that that the vote entitled "A Vote to Authorize Lease Purchase of 3 new school buses in the principal amount of $414,000 be adopted in the form presented to this meeting."
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Heidi, this is just our standard 3 buses a year that we have a plan to purchase and financing to purchase and
Yes, that
all
is
of those
correct.
things.
Yep, the extra buses, Andrea just got back and Katie, and we needed to get that going, so we
Yep.
they put that together. We got the loans through, I think it's Gorham, is that right?
Yep.
I'm remembering.
Yep.
So yeah, that's pretty much what it is, 3 new
Standard.
buses, yeah.
And it was in the budget.
It was in
all
the
that stuff.
budget, correct.
So anybody have any questions? All in favor? Oh,
Nope.
oh. Bart,
What color are these buses going to be?
you know Heidi?
Yeah, I mean, Bart, they're yellow,
Okay, thank you.
or sunflower if you'd rather.
Thank you,
All
Bart.
right, any other questions?
Anything wants to still.
All right, all those in favor? Anyone opposed? Abstaining? No. Okay, thank you. Now we will move on to, we're doing 6.4 and 6.5 at the end. So board chair's report is the next thing. And I just wanted to, we'll have Andy speak about this in a minute, but the facilities committee is in the process of scheduling a facilities tour, which is an annual event. And for any of you who haven't been on one, it's open to anyone on obviously, any board member. I encourage you to go if you haven't seen our facilities. Even if you have, they change year to year. It's usually a pretty interesting and eye-opening event. And I know that Andy will be putting out a schedule, but even if you can only go to 1 or 2 facilities, it's worth it if you can fit that in your day. Yes, the committee is looking right now at October 30th or November 13th, which are both Wednesdays. So unless, Andy, you had anything else to say, I was just going to take a vote and see when the most people could make it.
Just a little expectation about what the day is going to be like. I guess in years past, you grabbed the bus at the district office at 7:10. Last year, that didn't happen. We each drove our own cars around, started off at Harpswell, and then you do a whirlwind tour of all the schools and some of the other facilities, and you end I think we ended at I want to say the bus garage at the end of the day, 3:30. I can't, well, maybe it wasn't, but the
It was
tour
somewhere around
ended
here, though.
around 3:30. So just to let everybody know, it's a pretty full day. But it is eye-opening to see all the buildings in the district. That's the attempt anyway, to see what the condition is and and see what's on our budget and get a chance to talk to Sean Johansson a little more about what's going on. So it's good if you can attend, and so, yeah, go ahead and.
So this isn't necessarily a vote. This is a how many people are available. So it's fine if you have your hand up twice. But so raise your hand if you would be able to make it on October 30th. If you, okay. How about November 13th? That better? That looks much better. All right. It looks like it's November 13th. And we'll have the exact schedule out so people can figure that out. Okay, thank you. It's all on my agenda. So the SEC meeting that happened on September 30th. That's next.
Yeah, that's me. Our small but mighty committee, which comprises myself, Hudson, and Gregory, met to kick off the superintendent's evaluation process for the year with Heidi, and held an executive session to talk about the goals that she was drafting for herself. And this group will have an opportunity to discuss them more thoroughly in an executive session this evening.
Okay. Jim, next up is the CIA meeting that was action-packed, actually.
We had a great start to our meeting. We heard from about the SOAR program, SOAR, done through Mount Ararat High School, which engages a group of students along with 3 staff members in a project-based experiential summer through a month of activities, boat building, ranging from boat building, field trips to a wide variety of locations, ranging from Owl's Head Lighthouse to Maine Maritime Museum, et cetera. There was a nautical, an ocean theme to many of the experiences the kids had. This was the story. We've asked this year in the committee meetings to begin each meeting with a story from the field, a story of impact, some way of teaching, some way of learning that is showing impact. And there was a description, Doug Ware, who is the community learning coordinator at the high school, described and shared with us student input, a wide range. Heidi speaks directly, as you mentioned, to the attendance, that as a result of these experiences, and it's not just the experience of being socialized with that group of kids and adults who were connected and demonstrated in these active ways, their caring and interest in the kids. The kids were more apt to come to school, that they found more purpose and reason to come to school. So like any story, not applicable, cut it out and drop it over here, but the kernel of it spoke to some interesting models perhaps for that work moving forward. Beyond that, we looked at a wide variety of social studies courses from the middle school, both at the 7th and 8th grade level, that ranged from the Wabanaki studies at 2 levels in 7th grade, a real focus on that. To my way of thinking, it was looking backwards to the roots of this land on which we all live, this which is now Maine, looking backwards and looking forward in social studies. And it was described as an organized effort in the overall social studies curriculum. Social studies has suffered, I don't know if everybody's aware of this, but it's not high stakes tested. And in an environment where high stakes test results have profound implications, if it's not high stakes tested, it understandably does not gain the focus. There's been a great effort over the past 2 summers by the social studies faculty from across the grade levels to come together to create a sense of continuity and purpose to the course structure. The 8th grade, some of the classes being moved from a high school level to prepare for what we brought, the CIA committee, Mary, you brought as chair last year, the civics, the reintroduction really of a civics curriculum at the high school. For that to happen, there were pieces that were taught there. The 8th grade will be looking at early American history up to the Civil War, really. So 2 classes there. We also looked at several books, one of which we had to check Frank for that he wasn't taking it with us. It was a collection of Wabanaki writing, that first-person accounts, first-person writing, as well as some elementary books that to our group, to the committee, we would advocate for their use. It was thumbs up. You can see in the agenda, which was distributed, thank you, Becky, through the packet, were approved by the committee, and we suggest moving them forward. There was one item that was on the agenda that was tabled, which is the introduction of a couple of texts for Spanish and French at the middle school. We'll be looking at those in a later meeting, but that's it. So, Mary?
I'd add that we had the world religions text too. Did you add that? I don't know if you did, but anyway, in the 7th grade, they've shifted it down to from the freshman year, it used to be a freshman year course, now it's down to the 7th grade course. So anyway, that's part of what they did. We looked at that, but they're using a very, I think, a good text that they also used in the original high school. But it is something, the high school program, but it is something I think that can totally lend itself to the middle school developmental age.
The text you're mentioning, the Usborne Visual Dictionary, if anybody's familiar with the Usborne text, USBORNE, if you don't know those, the visual library are wonderful. There were also a couple of the texts, which was interesting, which are graphic novels, graphic texts that will be used as well at the middle level, the middle school. Am I missing anything else? So we would move that
We had the read aloud books too.
the read aloud books at there was one at the 3rd grade on two at grade 3.
And one at grade 2.
2 on the Grand Canyon. Again, a wonderful text with a wide variety of images. There were 2 Wabanaki based texts, main authors for the 3rd grade level.
So I just have a logistical question. I feel like in the past, we've gotten, Hudson would remind me, curriculum forms, like a specific form. Is that required or is that just something? I didn't see it in the packet. We had an explanation, which was great, but I think we've had some people sign off and do you know what I'm talking about?
I would say that's correct.
They're introducing new courses.
Well,
And so we have,
are these new courses? Yes.
Yes, you're correct. Those are, there should be, this was a little different because it was all coming from the middle school. So the packet was kind of compiled for the middle school. So there was one justification page that was pertinent to all the courses. But you are correct, I should have signed that I.
You verbally. Is any objection to a verbal signature on those documents? Seeing none, we accept your verbal signature. Do you want to do these as a slate or by groupings?
I would
Like-
suggest we vote on them as a slate.
Might propose doing the courses separately from the text materials, maybe doing like slate as blocks, perhaps. So I would move to approve the 4 new middle school social studies courses: Wabanaki Studies, New Nation Through the Civil War, U.S. History Through the Revolutionary War, and Human Geography and World Religions.
So move. You second.
Moved and seconded by Frank. Any questions, comments? All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? Thank you, that's unanimous. You want to keep going?
Sure, why not? And unless I'm stepping on your toes, Jim, I'm not trying to steal
I
your
just
thunder.
love the way you,
I move, we approve the texts for the middle school courses, including the Usborne Encyclopedia of World Religions, What Was the Turning Point of the Civil War, the Civil War graphic novel, DBQ Project, U.S. History, Volume 1. Mr. Tinkham, I remember DBQs. Dawnland, an anthology of indigenous writing of New England.
Okay,
Anyone second?
second.
Moved and seconded by Frank. Any comments? All those in favor?
I had a question,
Oh.
sorry, I know is that so fast. Did you
Sorry.
omit a couple? What about the third grade social studies
Oh, we're-
material?
We're doing them in blocks,
You're
just like,
doing them as elementary school. Okay, that's fine. I just
just
wanted.
like the blocks. So yeah, we
My
did
elementary
we did
parent
2, now
bias.
3, and now here comes
Yes.
4.
So that was in favor. Oh, well, let's vote again. All those in favor?
Just to be clear.
Just to be clear. Anyone opposed? Thank you. Unanimous?
I move we approve the texts, El Capibara con Botas, Spanish
Oh,
reader.
no,
Oh, those are
Tabled
approved.
that.
Sorry, I see this what happens when I don't have the paper copy. My bad. I move we approve the texts, following read alouds for third grade social studies. Rock Your Mocks by Laurel Goodluck and People of the Little Dawn by Minquansis Sapiel.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments? All those in favor? Those opposed? Anyone abstain? Okay,
I move we
Finally.
approve the text for read aloud in the second grade science, Grand Canyon by Jason Chi.
Second.
moved and seconded. Comments? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Thank you. That's also unanimous. And that's concludes. Anything else from CIA?
No.
Okay, thank you. That brings us to the superintendent's report.
Okay, thank you. I feel like I've talked a lot tonight and I'll be talking a lot more in just a few minutes. So anyways, we had our first steering committee meeting of for the strategic plan. We had about 20, actually we had about 30 people there. It was an absolutely amazing night. I got reports back from parents that they said they were really excited to be a part of it. We did all kinds of things. We looked at plans. We spent about 2 hours. We had some really good food. Thank you to our food services people. But the teams worked and the 2 hours went by really fast. Like it was hardly anything that we didn't feel like it was really 2 hours. So moving forward, we have our next meeting on October 23rd and it will be in person for that one. And then we'll determine what will happen in the next month for whether in person or on Zoom. If anybody is still interested in being part of this committee, we could take a few more for the steering committee, but it was just absolutely awesome. So thank you for those that are involved. Haley, did you want to? Oh, sorry, Kim.
I was just going to ask, have we published anywhere the list of people who are on the steering committee, just so that other members of the community might know who they can engage with if they're interested?
Sure, that I can, we are working on a link to the strategic plans, all of the information.
Cool.
And so while I'm gathering that, that should all be out probably in the next week or so.
Great.
Did you want to? Yeah.
Sure. I second what Heidi said. It was an awesome experience and it went too fast. I feel like, I think it was really exciting to get to know more people, like deeper. There were a few people that come to school board meetings that I don't know very well. So it was really nice to sit down and talk to them and get their opinions on what they'd like to see going forward. And I will say that as a group, everyone had hoped to see a little more variety in backgrounds and where people are coming from. And so I encourage anyone who wants to join, and if there's enough seats to come, because it's really interesting and exciting. So definitely join us.
Great. That's your whole report. All right, thank you. So we've got the calendar and announcements there. I would like to put in a plug for our workshop on the 10th. You have the agenda in your packet. And so the next thing we need to do is go back to 6.4.
I move that pursuant to one RSA subsection 405(6)D to enter executive session for the purpose of discussing contract negotiations with the Mary Meeting Education Association.
Seconded?
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? It's unanimous. And it is 7:54.